Mallory Maddox, FaceTime video.
Welcome into Main Street Sports Today.
Sorry, fellas, my
Presented by
music just
Mid-Tennessee.
stopped.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
very
that Bluetooth situation, eh?
I don't know what the heck.
I was
That
like,
was very strange.
what in the world is going on?
Sorry about that.
It's the weather. 80
Gotta be.
degrees in February. It's the weather.
It's got
It's
everything thrown
It's
off.
kind of like a full moon, right? It's like Mercury's in retrograde. It's 80 degrees outside, and the Lord knows what's going on here. Again, welcome in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow and Mo Patton coming to you on this Thursday. It is February 23rd, and we've got a great show lined up for you. We're going to talk to three folks. I've got three guests. Matt KRIESKY will join us here in just a few minutes as he will be our top story as he's taking the job at BLACKMAN, leaving behind CCCHS, but that's okay. Can't be mad at a man for taking a job 10 minutes from his house. It's real hard to do. We'll also talk to Columbia Central Lady Lions coach Megan Moore, their district championship from last week and what she's expecting this week at the region tournament. Also, Christopher Martel, author of Tales from the Nashville Predators Locker Room, will join us because, well, we needed someone who could speak candidly about the Predators, and this is a guy who follows the team very closely and has a pretty good idea of what this front office is about. So we'll see if what he thinks is going to take place in the next couple of days over as the trade deadline nears. And we'll also talk about some hoops from last night, some baseball. Got a couple local products, particularly from here in southern Middle Tennessee, who have been tearing it up lately. And so we'll get to that and much, much more. But before we do anything else, Mo, let's dive into last night's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Boys High School basketball action from Wednesday night. Christ Presbyterian Academy defeated Christian Brothers 57-51. It was Davidson Academy defeating FACS 58-56. Lipscomb Academy with a 73-70 win over Knoxville Catholic, and Good Pasture defeated St. George's 66-50. On a men's college basketball front, it was Belmont coming back for an 89-88 victory over the Sycamores of Indiana State, minus Larry Bird, minus Tyreek Key. LSU holds on at the PMAC for an 84-77 win over Vanderbilt, snapping Vanderbilt's 5-game winning streak, snapping the host Tigers' 14-game losing streak. Lipscomb with a 73-64 win over Florida Gulf Coast, and Stetson downs Austin Peay 76-51.
Austin Peay sans 3 players in that one too.
Oh, due to the little dust up on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they had not been playing well.
No,
anyway.
but
yeah, that certainly doesn't.
And you throw three of their better players
certainly
out.
Does not help.
No.
Yeah. Tennessee scored enough runs in the 5th inning alone to win this one, but they also scored 6 before scoring 15. Knocked off Alabama A&M 23-1. Vanderbilt with a 13-1 win over Alabama Birmingham.
State of Tennessee winning the border war yesterday. In women's college basketball action tonight at 5 o'clock on ESPN Plus, you can see Tennessee State. They'll be at UT Martin. Hopefully they'll get some catfish at some point on the way or on the way back. South Carolina, number 1, undefeated. The little Gamecocks.
This one snuck up on me.
Is Gamecocks?
Yes, because I neglected to set the recorder.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Can you not do that from here?
Quite possible.
I bet you can.
Yeah, we'll see.
Tennessee, they'll be at Thompson Bowling Arena taking on the number 1 Gamecocks at 6 o'clock on ESPN. Austin Peay's at Lipscomb. That's a 6 o'clock tip on ESPN Plus. Northern Iowa at Belmont. 6:30 ESPN Plus, and LSU is at Memorial. That is a 6:30 tip on SEC Network Plus against Vanderbilt. Men's basketball tonight, Tennessee State also at UT Martin. That's an 8 p.m. tip, and it'll be on ESPNU. NBA, the Grizzlies and 76ers are playing tonight. I double-checked. It's a 6:30 tip, and it is a nationally televised game on TNT. And the Preds are in San Jose. So take on the Sharks at 9:30 on Valley Sports South. And that is going to do it for your rundown. All right. So, as I just mentioned before the rundown, our top story today is quite quickly today. Our top story moved in with as I was trying to look for one. I get a text message.
Well, there you go.
I got a text
Timing is
message
everything.
from Darren Joins at Williamson County Schools telling us that
Telling us a lot of stuff.
Centennial High School football coach Matt KRIESKY would be leaving Centennial to take the head coaching job at BLACKMAN High School. And that's, again, can't be mad at a guy for taking a job 10 minutes from his house. It's certainly going to be a good move for BLACKMAN, as Coach KRIESKY has certainly turned that Cougar program around over the last few years. Great job by him, and I'm curious to see where WCS goes from here, although I don't think they should look much further than Arno Road.
It seems simple, and you know how simple goes.
Yeah,
I like that idea. But I mean, he might be waiting on something else too.
I mean, sure, he may be. Jay Emmons, who is, what is his position?
I believe he's DC.
Is he defensive coordinator? So he was at Centennial.
He's been at Centennial twice, actually.
Before Spring Hill?
He was at Centennial before he went to Spring Hill. In fact, I found out that he was going to Spring Hill because Jody's son Riley came home and told me.
That's a heck of a source there.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
So
yeah, he's been at Centennial twice. I mean, he knows the lay of the land over there. Does a great job. Did a great job at Spring Hill. Never should have been gone. Has done a great job at Page. He's been on the staff of back-to-back Class 5A state championship game participants. I mean, the resume is there. So, I mean, I don't know what direction they're going to go in, but they could not go wrong with Jay. Now, maybe Kevin Dyson's got a rabbit in his hat. Maybe he, Jeff Fisher's available.
Jeff Fisher is available. He's not coaching the Michigan Panthers. So, hey, you never know. That's interesting because, again, that's kind of an X factor for Centennial, is that they do have Kevin Dyson. And if there's anyone who's got a laundry list of people with football minds in their phone, it's probably Dr. Kevin Dyson. So, I'll be interested to see where they go. I still think Jay would be a phenomenal hire, and I think he deserves another head coaching job. He did a fantastic job at Spring Hill. You can obviously, just look at the records before and after, and it's pretty clear that he was a big factor in the success that they had when they were there. Obviously, he's done a good job of kind of taking things in stride, and I think he feels kind of, he's been pretty happy in his roles since then. That being said, maybe he doesn't want the job, but I think if he wants it, he should get a look. That's all I'm saying.
That's all that needs to be said. And whoever gets that job is going to be stepping into a pretty good situation. Centennial went 8-3 this past season. advanced to the Class 6A state playoffs before they lost at Bartlett 46-28, but their 2 losses were to Independence and Brentwood during the regular season. And they're going down to 5. And they've got athletes. I mean,
it's going to make a difference.
Yeah. Let's see here. Hold on. If my computer would cooperate with me. Come on. They play in the same region with James Lawson, Nolensville, Glencliff, Brentwood, Page, and Hillsborough in 5A.
Did you say Brentwood?
That can't be right.
That can't be right.
Well, remember what I said about garbage in, garbage out?
Yes. Okay, so that's
I'm reading from someplace that I probably shouldn't be reading from.
Clearly. That's okay. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's a good catch on your part. Yeah.
Because I thought, 1, either you're breaking news, or 2, I have missed something completely.
Yeah, no, Brentwood has not dropped to 5A.
Okay,
No.
that's great to hear. But yeah, so Centennial going back to 5A is probably it's unfortunate because that Williamson County district was sure nice to have.
Yeah, I mean, they're still playing everybody in the county. They play Franklin, Summit, Indy, out of region, as well as Brentwood.
Golly.
Well, there's some gates there, though, bro.
Oh, no, I understand. And if they don't matter in the grand scheme,
sure,
I guess good for you. But
there's some winnable ball games there. But yeah, I think Centennial is in a pretty good situation and should be an attractive situation for Dr. Dyson to be able to go out and find somebody who can continue the success that Coach Kreisky has had.
No, he was at Forest before,
okay, and had some success over there. You know, Forest, for a time there, they were losing coaches left and right because Kreisky replaced Brian Coleman, who left to go to Summit.
Right.
So it was a little bit of a tough run there for the Rockets in terms of the revolving door at the top of that program for a minute. But
Kreisky he went to the first round of the playoffs and the second round of the playoffs in his 2 years with Forest. Quarterfinals his first year at Centennial in 5A, and then made the playoffs twice in Class 6A. But, again, Centennial is kind of like Spring Hill. Spring Hill is really a 3A school having to play 5A because of the situation that they're in with proximity to Summit, the way that population has kind of boomed in the area without bringing a lot of athletes necessarily.
They got athletes.
I'm just saying overall.
I mean, they don't have the Wade twins, but I mean, they got athletes at Centennial. No,
I'm not saying, but they've always been a 4A, 5A school. They've never been a 6A school. They just kind of got.
Yeah, 6A was there was
a big boom there.
6A was a little bit of a stretch for them, really, as you saw through some of Kreisky's earlier years at Centennial before they turned the corner here over the last couple. But,
well, I mean, they were only 6A one other time before, which I know. When did the 6th class happen?
I'm not going to lie and act like I don't remember.
But early 2000s ish. Because they were 6A in 13 and 14, but every other year they've been either 4A or 5A.
Yeah, 13 and 14, I do believe, was when they had Tyrell Dodson and Emmanuel Hall and some real studs.
They went to the quarterfinals in 14 under Brian Rector. And then,
like I said, that's when they had Tyrell.
And then the semifinals in 5A the next year in 15. Yeah. I mean, Dodson, pretty darn good.
He's
Here's the thing.
He's on the Bills roster. So he's not bad.
So fun. I think the cool thing about this particular situation is that the backyard brawl in Murfreesboro now gets a little bit more interesting, considering that it's now it's not just a backyard brawl. It's a
bedroom brawl.
Basically. Yeah. I mean, these are guys who are walking.
Matt's twin brother, Will, for those who don't know, is the coach at Riverdale.
So you've got.
So they'll be crossing 96 to get after each other over there.
Rather than just down the hall as they probably did when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
This will not be the first time those two have
fought. Literally.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes it even more interesting and obviously more enticing for him to kind of want to, be in that area.
I'm a little bit more interested though in the conversation that we had with Chandler Tigert a few weeks ago as he was leaving Blackman to take the Cleveland job. You got to bump heads with Oakland as well. And
I mean,
they show no signs of slowing down.
That's always going to be, you can't not take a job because you got to play Oakland because there's going to be 7 other teams that have to do it. But it is, I mean,
I don't know.
It is unfortunate.
I think it has to be a consideration because you're in the same region with them, which means whatever you do, you're going to see them in the quarterfinals at worst. I mean, at best, you're going to see them in the quarterfinals,
which is what Blackman has done. The last couple of years, it seems like.
So,
in 19, Kit Hartsfield met them in the quarterfinals, and then last year, Tigard met them in the quarterfinals. In 16, 15, and 14, they had to play him in the quarterfinals. So,
and the same result each time, right?
That's right. Now,
what do they call insanity?
I will say this: maybe there's a 10-year run here because in 2013, Philip Shadowins. Okay, well, whatever. Did beat Oakland.
That was a great attempt. I love
it. It was like Yow or Yo.
It was a 50-50.
It was a 50-50 shot. Yeah. I took a shot, didn't win. They did win in 2013 before losing to Maryville in the semis. So, I don't think that's going to happen this year.
Let me just,
or in the next 5 years.
Now, let me just bring a little context to that 2013. For you.
I can tell you who wasn't there. Kevin Kriesky.
Kriesky was not there for Oakland. I'm pretty sure Jawan Jennings was there for Blackman.
That makes a difference. He's pretty good. Yeah. We were hoping to be joined by Coach KRIESKY. Unfortunately, we were unable to. I'm sure he is dealing with stuff today. That's not a big deal. We will get him sometime in the near future for sure. We will take our first break because we're going to come back and Columbia Central girls basketball coach Megan Moore will join us on Coach's Corner and we'll hand out some hardware. So stick around on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Yow and Maurice Patton here on this beautiful Thursday. Sarah's got the kids at the park. She's excited to get out of the house. And then tomorrow it's just going to be rainy and cold.
Okay, so true story. If I can talk. As I was getting ready to come into the building, someone blew at me, went by in a blue Mustang convertible that they borrowed from someone else, Pernell Knox.
Yeah.
And so I called him and I said, what's the point of having a convertible if you're not going to have the top down on February 23rd in 80 degrees?
He didn't want to put the top back up. What's the deal?
Too much stuff, too much junk in the car, apparently.
You saw the car and was wondering why the top wasn't down, so you called him.
Why he didn't? Yes. I had to chastise him.
Of course you have to chastise
because
him.
If you're going to have a convertible,
it's February 23rd and it's 80 degrees.
No,
Hit the top. So your hair can blow while you wave it as waving the girlies.
You don't even have to have a blinker. You can just put your arm out the window and tell them which way you're going.
There you go. Let's hand out some hardware real quick. We got a couple of things to do. We'll go first with our Into-Win Life Team of the Week, presented by our friends at Custom Stone Handlers. Outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform in sports, Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. Give them a call, 931-490-4990, or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com. And this week's Into-Win Life Team of the Week, Mo.
The Columbia Central Lady Lions picked up a couple of victories last week in the District 12-4A tournament, defeating Independence. The Lady Lions were the number 2 seed going into the tournament, defeated Independence in Friday's semifinal, and then defeated host top seed Nolensville and some 6'6" kid. Now, for context, Columbia doesn't have a player taller than 6 feet, and we're going to talk more to our Coach's Corner guest in just a second about that. But
all I know, Mo, is I need you to get one of those blazers that Coach Moore has there on the left.
A purple blazer?
Yeah.
I don't think I can rock that quite the way she does.
You would murder that.
Sure.
I don't think.
Big a fan of Prince as you are, and you won't wear a purple blazer.
No, I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm just saying I'm not sure. Well, I am telling you with all certainty, it would not look as good on me as it does on her.
That's understandable.
So, yeah.
But
the Columbia Central Lady Lions are our Into-Win Life Team of the Week. So,
and now our Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Athlete of the Week goes to Summit,
182-pound junior Jensen Schreiber at the sectional tournament at Independence this weekend. 3 matches, 3 pins. Doesn't get much better than that.
That'll play.
That dog will hunt
every time.
Yes. So Jensen Schreiber is our MTBJ Athlete of the Week. Congratulations to him. His Summit teammates on both the boys and girls side, and others from Indy, Columbia Central, and Spring Hill will be in action in about 5 minutes at the state tournament at the Williamson County Ag Expo in Franklin.
That's right. And tomorrow you can catch us at the Williamson County Ag Expo, as we'll be doing our show live from the state wrestling tournament. It will be a lot of fun. We look forward to seeing you guys out there. If you are there,
stop by, say hi.
Stop by, say hi.
Else is fine to say.
There you go. All right, we go now to Coach's Corner, presented by From the Heart Cafe out in Chapel Hill. If you've not gone to see Renee Hart and the fine folks out there, you should definitely make that trip. It is worth it, I promise. Whether you need lunch, breakfast, or catering, they'll bring it to you. Have lunch delivered. It's a great idea. Again, From the Heart Cafe out in Chapel Hill. Appreciate Renee and the fine folks out there. Joining us on Coach's Corner this week is Columbia Central Lady Lions coach Megan Moore. Coach,
without the purple blazer.
I would just wear that.
Definitely don't dress like that every day.
Maybe you should. It's a great look.
She didn't want to intimidate Mo.
It's funny, Coach. I will tell you this: when I was, I don't know, when I was covering this, my hometown team, Dora, their coach would wear like polos for every game unless it was a championship game. So they wore suits for the area championship, the sub-state, the region championship, and then when they went to the state championship, that's the only time they wore suits. But it worked because they won it. So there you go.
Well, and Coach Moore will appreciate this because little known fact, she is a huge high school wrestling fan. And
Yes.
high school wrestling coaches do the same thing. They will pack suits to bring to the state tournament. You will see coaches in suits for Saturday's finals. And and a lot of them are guys that you wouldn't even think own suits.
There you
but
go.
yeah, so
I'm
yeah,
for it.
I like that approach
It's
on
perfect.
your part. But yeah, anyway, Coach Moore, thanks for taking some time with us and thanks for dealing with our nuttiness here. Congratulations, first of
Thank
all.
you.
I mean, again, Saturday, that's huge. And so was she. And I
Yeah.
cannot remember her name. I
6'7".
apologize. 6'7". I'm sorry.
A true 6'7". Yes.
I'm sorry. I said 6'6". My bad. Yeah. So what did y'all do? Just play five in the paint and just dare them to shoot threes, or how exactly did you approach it? I know when we talked Friday after your win over Independence, you said we got a plan. So,
And we did. And we
and
executed
you-
that plan.
and you said it quite confidently and with good reason, I guess. But with your relative lack of height, and I don't want you to give away any government secrets or anything because maybe you see them again, but how did you all go about offsetting that as well as you did? You had 6 points.
It was the amount of film that we watched. Whenever you go into, it's hard to beat a good team 3 times, and we knew that we were a great team. The height advantage we obviously knew was there, but we watched so much film. We saw what we were great at. We saw what we needed to improve on. We definitely asked Layla to Washington to step up. She's the only 6-footer that we have, especially in the post position. But we asked her to step up. We need you to rebound. This is your job. This is your role. And anybody that had to play, the defense that we were playing, they knew that if they were there on the block, and even the ones that had to play up top, if you were anywhere inside that paint, you better find a body. And they did.
Well, obviously, that's the key to winning basketball games. See, any coach will tell you that if you out rebound, you typically will win. And obviously, she's going to get hers, but you have to get all the others. And it seems like you guys were able to do that. And kudos to your kids for battling.
They're old school in we're going to work hard. We're going to play hard. We're executing. That was probably one of the most well executed, not just a game plan, but because, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, can they really go out there and execute, a full 4 quarters, not let, the pressure get to you or the moment get to you, or, you make one mistake and then you feel like your game plan falls apart. The kids, they never doubted themselves. They never doubted the game plan. We made the adjustments that we needed to. And so it was just a fun game to be a part of. We knew that they have the 6'7" and the 6'3" girl, and we knew how good they were, but they also have a phenomenal point guard in Leilani Washington. So we knew that we had to contain her and limit her shots and limit the other shots, because the more shots go up, the more second and third and fourth chance opportunities they got. So we said we wanted to limit them on the perimeter, keep her on the outside, limit their shots, and then it had to be one and done.
Columbia Central girls basketball coach, District 12-4A tournament champion coach.
Yes, sir.
Megan Moore joining us here on Coach's Corner, presented by From the Heart Cafe over in Chapel Hill. Coach, again, I was able to see your game Friday against Independence, and we got to talk afterward, and you mentioned that one of your team's mantras is always us, never them. And that really resonated with me because, again, looking at your team, you guys have to be really committed to what you do.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of things that physically are a challenge for your team.
I know my whole starting
I
five
don't
is like 300 pounds soaking wet. So
I don't want to harp on it, but you're vertically challenged on your roster. I mean, there's no
hey,
way
we can
around
jump.
it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Height wise, absolutely.
But at the same time, this team has really grasped that always us, never them, and really embraced that and does what they do well, which is defense and transition.
Yes. We know that, you know, we actually quoted Don Staley, who talks about, you know, being disciplined, you know, after that LSU game. And then, you know, the point guard from LSU, she talked about speed kills because she is an undersized player. And, you know, to not compare ourselves to anybody, but just to say, like, you know, you can be this type of player, even though they say, oh, you don't have the height, or you don't have this, or you don't have that, you know, some of the intangible stuff that, you know, our kids obviously can't touch whenever it comes to height. Well, we can't help height, but they're not going to be as fast as we are either. So that's where we want to play our game, speed it up, slow it down, and then take advantage of the things that make us great. And it's definitely our speed.
Well, if speed kills, you've got a killer. Savia Morgan is as fast as they come. And so, you know, I talk about her improvement as a basketball player over the last couple of years. Obviously, she's, you know, one of the best softball players in the country.
Absolutely.
And, you know, but she has really come on as a basketball player over the last couple of years.
She's a competitor. Basketball for her, this is her fun sport. This is a secondary sport. I absolutely believe in kids playing multiple sports. I know I did growing up. Soccer was my secondary. You know, basketball is secondary for her, but that doesn't mean that it takes away from the competitive nature that you have. And that's what makes her elite, is because it doesn't matter what she's going to do. She's going to see, okay, how can I improve? You know, what can I do? How can I make my team better? So it's the fundamentals of wanting to win. Definitely having the skill work there, but she puts in the effort too. You know, she gets early to the gym and she stays late. So, you know, even though this is a secondary sport for her, it's still fun for her. But it's also a primary because she wants to win.
You talked about rebounding in the Nolensville game and how big a focal point that was for you. And again, despite the relative lack of height, Anaya Mulholland, I don't know what she averages on the boards, but it feels like every rebound that Layla doesn't get,
it's hers.
Anaya does.
Yes. And she's all of 5'4" and 108 pounds. Yes. Yes.
But she rebounds like Rodman.
Oh, I know. And that basketball is going to be hers.
Can you put that on a t-shirt, Coach?
Huh?
Rebound. Can you put that on a t-shirt? Rebound like Rodman.
Hey, that describes her. And one slogan, that's her.
It's impressive to watch. It really is.
Yes.
But just
she averages 5 offensive rebounds a game.
Offensive.
Just offensive, yeah.
Yeah. It's. I think watching this team, just the heart is what really sticks out to you, and you can't teach that, Coach.
No, not at all. But you know, it's something that you do have to invest the time in, you and the energy. Like we have to talk about heart and team and culture and what that looks like, what that feels like, because it's not something. You're right. Like if they don't know what it looks like or what it feels like, then how do you teach it? But it's just something that if you don't have a solid cultural foundation, then it is hard to establish heart. You know, not just individually, but within within an entire team. And whenever they see what that looks like and feels like and the outcome that it can have, then it shows the investment, you know, and now an intangible becomes a tangible and a non-negotiable.
This is your second season with this program. This program has not had a lot of success the previous 5, 6, 8 years, you know, prior to your getting here. Did you expect to be this good or to have the success that you all have had to this point this quickly when you got here?
I think I always wanted, I mean, obviously that's the goal. You never go into coaching like, you know, you want to make sure that you invest in young women, but at the same time you coach because you want to help young women learn how to win too. on the court. And so I didn't come into it going, oh my gosh, we're going to be absolutely terrible, or, we're going to go win a state championship. It was more of, okay, how can we continue to grow? We lost 2 1,000 point scorers last year. And so whenever we lost those, just within our returners that came back this year, we only averaged 6 points. And so for us, it was almost like, how do we learn what our identity is going to be this year? How do we learn how to score? But it did require everybody kind of stepping up and finding their own confidence and finding their own role. But then we also have the talent and the skill work behind it. And then, so yeah, I mean, we knew that we always had the potential to be great. It was just going to be a matter of what can we do as a coaching staff to set them up to have the best chance and the most opportunity for a success, and then encouraging them to make sure that they put in the work to be able to reach that goal.
Well, obviously, one of the big goals that every team puts out at the beginning of the year is winning the district championship. You've marked that off the list. Next is the region tournament at Hillsboro. Obviously, the Lady Burros are the top seed on the other side of the bracket, but you guys have if you advance, you'll play either Raven or Brentwood, and then the region finals potentially on Monday.
Hey, Chris, we lost you on the audio there.
I'm sorry.
We can barely hear you.
I'm sorry about that.
You're good.
Oh,
Now we can. There we go.
Anyway, what is your approach to this weekend and taking it from here?
We did great. We went against teams that we had already seen before, so we knew what our game plan was. It is a little bit of a different feel whenever you're going into the region, and we haven't played Overton this year. We watched film on them so far, but anybody that makes it to the region, they're obviously a good team, and at this point, anybody can beat anybody on any day. So it's just a matter of, okay, make sure that we stay with the always us, never them. Who are we, and sticking with our game plan, taking it one possession at a time and taking it one game at a time.
Fantastic.
One game at a time seems to have worked to this point. Again, Columbia Central's girls, the District 12 4A tournament champions, opening Region 6 4A play at 5:30 tomorrow at Hillsboro against Columbia Central. Against Overton. Excuse me. They're Columbia Central.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
Yeah. Coach Moore, we appreciate it.
Thank
And
you both so much.
will the purple blazer be showing back up tomorrow?
I can't wear it 2 games in a row.
I was gonna say you can't wear the same outfit.
Got you.
But I am pretty superstitious, so maybe.
There you go. We're not superstitious, Megan, but we are a little
stitious. We're a little stitious.
Hey, I'm full on superstitious, so.
Coach, we appreciate it. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you both so much.
All right.
Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that you guys can hear us. It's not ideal. It's been a
It
crazy
only
day
went out.
with our.
Only went out for like 15 seconds. All good.
Such is life. We'll take our second break, not our first break, our second break. And when we come back, we've got a lot of things to talk about. Vandy hoops, baseball across the state, some coaching moves, and much, much more. So stick around. Main Street Sports Day, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bond and Joint. We'll be back after these messages.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
We are back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Chris Yow alongside Mo Patton on this Thursday, and we're talking a little bit local college sports to start, Mo. Vanderbilt goes down to LSU last night, as we mentioned in the rundown, takes it on the chin to the previously won SEC win Tigers. And, you know, after everybody's been talking about Vanderbilt, you know, can they've got a shot to get into the tournament, and they've got this. Is Vanderbilt one of those teams that they just need to fly under the radar and you just don't pay attention to us so we can do our thing?
You know, that could be it, but it could also just be the SEC.
Yeah, and night in, night out. It's hard. As Kirby Smart will tell you, it's hard to win on the road in the SEC. Don't matter who you got.
Yeah, I mean, literally, and we've talked about it ad nauseum, and everybody's beating everybody. So LSU has struggled to this point, but I mean, it's not like they're a bad team. They just hadn't played very well for an extended period of time. McMahon, I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it, but
LSU, no telling.
Oh.
Could be anything.
You know, that's a good point. That's a good point. But apparently had them ready to play. They pretty well led from the start, didn't they?
Yeah.
Do you still?
I have no audio. I mean, I'm here, but like I'm just, this is as best I can get. So.
Perfect.
All right, cool.
Goodness.
Anyway, glad to be back.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, thanks.
Man.
Dealing with audio issues is never fun. You know, one of the things about LSU is that they've been in close games. I mean, obviously Tennessee went down there and pretty well drilled them, but Tennessee was playing the best that it could after that loss to Kentucky.
Well, it was after the loss to Kentucky, and then it was after the Mississippi State game where they were not very impressive in the first half, but they picked it up in the second half. And we had kind of discussed it, and said that they needed to go down to LSU and drop the hammer, and that's exactly what they did. Right. So, but that was a stretch where they were playing about as well as they've played.
Right. And so, I mean, it's not like LSU was just getting hammered every night in and every night out. They weren't. So this is not a terrible LSU team. Obviously, you know, they've not won a lot of games in the SEC, but again, you know, they lost by 8 to Texas Tech in that Big 12 challenge. Missouri only beat them by 10. Mississippi State only beat them by 10. Alabama only beat them by 10. A&M beat them by 12. You know, I mean, this is, they're not a bad basketball team, and Vanderbilt just went down there and LSU put it together, you know, and that's unfortunate because Vanderbilt really was kind of in a, you know, they were in a situation where if they continued to win, they were going to find themselves in the tournament. I don't think they put themselves out yet.
A five game streak in SEC play isn't anything to sneeze at.
No,
I mean, I don't know how many other teams have won 5 straight in league play this season.
I mean, we talked about it. They were tied for the number 4 seed in the SEC tournament yesterday, you know, before last night, or they were a half game up technically, I guess, but now they're down. They're tied for the 6th seed, I think, and even still. This is a team that if they go to Kentucky and win, if they beat Auburn at home, they're still going to have a chance to play their way into the tournament, in my opinion. Because right now, Kentucky is playing as good a basketball. They just got another quad 1 win last night. They're playing as good as anybody in the country.
Vanderbilt is in a 3-way tie for 6 right now with Missouri and Arkansas. They beat Arkansas, right?
Yes.
Have they played Missouri?
I don't think that matters. The tiebreaker for a 3-way tie is winning percentage against common opponents, I think. And
Okay.
Missouri is, according to Blake Lovell, Missouri is currently the winner of that tiebreaker.
Okay.
Then it goes to head-to-head, which means they would have beaten Arkansas, and they.
Now, I don't know if they play again. I don't know what the rest of Arkansas's, the rest of Vanderbilt's schedule looks like. But
Now,
there's a bracket.
This is a
bracket.
projected bracket from Kentucky Sports Radio, so that doesn't necessarily mean it's.
Gotcha.
I don't. Bring it back up though. I want to see.
Gotcha. I didn't know if it was one of those things.
I'm not sure if this is okay. Projected SEC final standings
Based on Ken Palm, yeah.
So with the way Tennessee's playing right now, who knows?
Right.
They could be, the 8th seed by the time this thing happens. I don't know. So, but I do find it interesting though that you're sitting there, and Vanderbilt has an opportunity to play itself in the tournament. Again, Kentucky went down to Florida, got a win last night. That's a quad 1 win, and they beat Auburn at home on Saturday, and then Vanderbilt goes up there and beats them. That's a pretty big win for Stackhouse. So I don't think that they're out of it yet. Is my point.
No, I tend to agree with you. Vanderbilt has Florida coming to Memorial on Saturday.
Again, that's a big win. They need to win that.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the way that this schedule has laid out, Florida, Kentucky, Auburn, those are games that if they win them, will certainly put them right back into the consideration of bubble talk. Yeah. So I wouldn't worry too much.
It's not on the run of show, but it bears mentioning. Brandon Miller scored 41 points last night. And Alabama needed every one of them in a 78-76 overtime win against South Carolina.
We said it yesterday that South Carolina was going to be a tough out because of the distractions that this team was facing. Obviously, Brandon Miller.
Not distracted. But
I'm gonna throw this at you.
Mm-hmm.
It may be an unpopular opinion. I tweeted it out earlier. Brandon Miller was so focused on shutting people up that he nearly cost his team a win.
I didn't get to see the game, so I don't know.
In regulation, no player on Alabama's team shot the ball more than 7 times.
Except
Brandon Miller. 0 assists in the game. And 8 boards. Now, one of two things happened.
He scored 41 points.
Well, he had the game tire at the buzzer, basically, with 4 seconds to go in regulation, and then he had the game winner in overtime. I'm not saying that he didn't play well and that great job. I'm saying that if he misses either of those 2 shots and they lose, and you went out and scored.
But he didn't, and they didn't.
But he didn't. And I understand that. That's why I said almost cost his team a ball game by basically taking over when he doesn't necessarily have to do that. This is an Alabama team that has that the number 2 team in the country for a reason. They got plenty of folks that can put the ball in the hoop. So I'm just saying it's an unpopular opinion, and maybe that was the game plan. Maybe it was, hey, let's go out here and let Brandon do his thing.
Well, I mean, I think the flip side of that is not so much that, but a kid who is expected to be a lottery pick here in a few months just went out and played like a lottery pick.
But the team certainly didn't play like the number 2 overall seed.
Well, I don't know how much of that's on him. I'm not going to call your opinion unpopular. I'm going to
it's
say
probably
that.
unpopular.
Well, that's probably unpopular in Alabama, but I mean, I think you have to look at it as this is what he's capable of.
Sure, but Alabama shouldn't be beating South Carolina
In overtime by
two. Yeah. That's where I'm coming from. Is I just think and again, it might have been the play. Nate Oates and that team, Noah Clowney and what's his name, Bakadu or Bakiadu. I don't know.
That's your team.
I don't know who they are.
I have a question.
That may have been the whole play. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's up?
What's your question?
My question is, so I get both y'all's point for sure. So you're saying, Chris, that if he wasn't on the floor, Brandon Miller, speaking about, he dropped 42, of course, but how do you think Alabama would have done without him on the floor? Do you think they would have just like completely not even gotten close?
I mean, if he averages his 20 and 7 assists, they probably win by 10.
That's what I thought. I was thinking that maybe that if with him out.
So you feel like less is more.
Right.
Well, I just think they have too many good players.
Exactly. My point too.
I don't think that it would have been as close of a game if they played the way that they typically play when they, against poor opponents. Let's be honest.
Right. You just went out there and hooped.
But maybe not. Look, again, maybe they had to have Brandon Miller's 41. Maybe South Carolina played over their head. Maybe, and I will say this, a guy who Middle Tennessee resident, but is from Alabama and a huge Alabama fan. He basically said, I don't necessarily disagree with you. He said, but after that dunk that he had over the 2 South Carolina players, I don't know if y'all saw that highlight, but holy crap, it was incredible. He was trying to get his team fired up, and he said they looked like they were in a fog. So maybe the team was just so disoriented that Brandon said, I've got to take this over or we're not going to win. And that very well may be the case. I don't know. I do not know. I'm just saying that it's either one of those two things. It was either Brandon Miller said, I'm going to win this game, and that's just the way it is, or he said, I'm going to win this game, and the rest of his team didn't know that was his plan. And it nearly cost him. I don't know. But I mean, you can't deny that this kid right here, by the way, he travels about 4 times on the final shot. Look, go back to the.
I'll make it full. Yeah.
Let's see. I gotta find it. The shot that tied the game to go into overtime was, this was in overtime. He doesn't travel here. He traveled on one this is it. Watch his feet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
He traveled 4 times.
He's NBA ready.
4 times.
He's NBA ready based on that play right there.
4, 5, 6. That's 6 travels before he even gets to the hole.
He traveled 4 times. It was brilliant.
Hey, it's a good thing they didn't have the officials from Lewis County Summertown.
Oh, man. Yeah. Anyway, wow. I just thought that was interesting. Let's talk a little baseball before we get here, because we do need to talk about it. But we didn't mention it after we saw Bryant Baranek pitch and
not Baranek,
not Baranek, but Bryant Baranek pitch an opening day home opener at Reese Smith Field on Tuesday during our Chip Walters segment. Bryant had a great outing.
5 shutout, 2 strikeouts.
Middle had a great outing, obviously.
Yeah, I don't remember what the final score was, but they did win. But I do remember Baranek, I think, allowed 1 hit and, like I said, 2 strikeouts in 5 shutout innings of work.
Chip said there were about 200 people there when at the beginning of the game, and ended up with a
917
with a 917 number by the end. He said that's good. That number's going to go up. And that means,
yeah,
worked out.
Yeah, but great outing for Brian Baranek, the former Columbia Academy standout in his collegiate debut. Speaking of collegiate debuts by Columbia Academy alumni, Kavaris Tears with a pinch hit double in his first AB Tuesday against Alabama A&M and had another hit yesterday in that 23-1 victory. So he is 2 for 3.
Oh, I thought you had 3 for 5.
I think that might have been on base, maybe. But
because what you sent me,
yeah, I'm looking at their stats right now. So I don't know.
3 for 5 with 5 runs and 4 RBIs for the season.
Yeah. So I don't. What I'm looking at on the UT website right now is that he is 2 for 3 with 3 runs scored and 2 RBI. I think.
Did they get him mixed up with somebody else?
There's no telling. There's no telling. But he's got a double, and like I said, he scored 3 runs. I think he's also drawn a couple of walks, though I don't see them on here.
Okay.
No, 1 walk. Yeah. So yeah. In limited playing time, did not play this weekend out in Arizona, but again, 2 for 3 off the bench in 2 games against A&M. So we'll see what happens with him going forward. I hate this website.
What, UT's?
Yeah.
All of the baseball stat websites are terrible. All these schools have these baseball websites. They're awful. I hate them.
Tennessee plays Dayton in a 3-game series beginning Friday, 3:30 Central Time start on that one at Lindsey Nelson Stadium.
What was the player you guys were talking about that broke out? I think there's a video of him hitting a dinger. If you'd like me to pull it up, Chuck,
Burke?
is it? Burke. Oh,
no, I don't know. There were a lot of home runs hit.
Yeah, I mean they
they
beat Alabama A&M 20-1 yesterday after beating them 10-0 on Tuesday. So
yeah, it was a pretty.
That's tough.
The bat boy got them in.
Like, seriously, they don't even have the scores on the website. Like, they just didn't even put the score up there. Tennessee. It just says
I thought you meant for the other team.
It doesn't even say what the score was. Like, that was so nice of Tennessee to just be like, yeah, we won. That's
that is really respectful.
That's very
we're just going to leave it right there.
Hey, finally, real quick, before we get out of here, Mo, Willie Taggart taking a job in the National Football League, coaching running backs for the Ravens.
What's cool about that is Willie Taggart played for John and Jim Harbaugh's dad at Western Kentucky.
How about that?
So, kind of keeping it in the family there. Another move by the Ravens, in addition to Taggart joining the staff as running backs coach, T. Martin has been named quarterbacks coach for the Ravens.
That's interesting.
I think he was I know he was on the staff this past season. I think he was coaching receivers. So he will be the quarterbacks coach for the Ravens under OC Todd Monken and under John Harbaugh. So
how about that?
Yeah, good for him.
That's it for this segment. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk Preds as we'll get to fellow Preds fan and author of Tales from the Nashville Predators Locker Room, Christopher Martell, joins us, so stick around. We'll be right back after this.
in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
This is attorney Bart Durham, and this is me. I'm Aaliyah. Keeping in good physical condition is really important to me. But when I had a wreck with a tractor-trailer truck that hurt my legs so bad I couldn't work for almost a year, I knew I needed a lawyer that understood tractor-trailer cases. So I called Bart. Bart gets millions of dollars for his clients every year.
At Bart Durham Injury Law, we've handled hundreds of tractor-trailer cases.
My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris alongside Mo Patton here, and we are getting ready to talk a little Nashville Predators hockey because, well, things are not going so well. Let's just be honest. That's how it goes. But joining us to talk about it is author of Tales from the Nashville Predators Locker Room and fellow Preds fan and public address announcer for the district champion Green Hill Hawks. How about that? Christopher Martel. Thanks for joining us, man. What's up?
Not much, guys. How are y'all doing this afternoon?
We're doing well, Chris, and appreciate you taking some time with us. I know, as Chris did, I noted the Green Hill t-shirt there, and from what I understand, you guys may have dodged a little bit of a bullet with the announcement of Matt KRIESKY as the new coach at BLACKMAN, because my information is that Josh Crouch was also in the running for that.
Yeah, that would have been that probably would have been a dodge bullet there. You know, I can't really see Josh really going anywhere right now. But I mean, BLACKMAN, that kind of job being open as a potential spot, Rutherford County football is always big, especially with the schools that you have down there playing each other on a yearly basis. It's definitely a job that would have been one to keep an eye on, especially if Crouch would have been a suitor for that job. So I think that being the scenario, it very well could have been a dodge bullet, because with the changes going on next year for the region layout, it's going to be kind of fun to see what happens.
There you go.
There we go. So little bonus coverage there. But yeah, Chris brought you in because, as Chris mentioned, things not going great at Bridgestone Arena these days, and a lot of conjecture about what direction they need to go in. And we needed somebody who could speak a little bit more freely about this.
Well, you know, at this point in time, I think I can speak pretty freely about the entire process. So, this team is not what they were 7 years ago, guys. I mean, you know, let's just be honest with what we see on the ice. Let's be honest about what we saw a decade ago with this organization. And let's be honest about where they have to go from here. I think once the franchise embraces honesty and understands, okay, you know, we may have screwed up somewhere along the way. We need to fix our mistakes and really kind of buckle down for the next couple of seasons, maybe longer than that. Then I think they'll be on the right track. But right now, I kind of think the next handful of days leading into the trade deadline are going to be kind of key to see what direction David Poyle is planning on taking the organization. I think there's only one real route he can go, but I have a feeling he's going to pull the team kicking and screaming down the wrong route. So I think it's just kind of a wait and see moment right now.
We talked on this show a couple days ago about the trade deadline and, obviously whether the Preds were going to be buyers or sellers. We just mentioned that Ryan Johansson is out with he's having surgery and will not be available. So that obviously puts things into an even more different perspective. But, if you are the Nashville Predators organization and your plan or hope is that David Boyle is not the general manager within the next year or two, do you really want him selling assets at a trade deadline that, and then ask another GM to fix his mess?
That's a good question. I think the organization can't go into it with the state of mind of, well, we have to wait until we get another general manager in place. David Boyle caused the mess the Predators are in. That much is fairly simple when we look at the entire view as a whole. He caused the mess they're in right now. And regardless of what happens 3 to 5 years from now, David Boyle is still the one in charge. And I don't think anybody in the ownership group is going to pull the trigger and make that change. I just don't feel like they will. So I think you have to have, even with a new owner.
But
see, he's not going to even be into a position to where he could, Bill has him to where he could do anything for at least 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
So this is something that, the ownership group
he doesn't carry a lot more weight knowing.
He will eventually.
Okay.
Because he will eventually have a majority stake in the franchise and his word will carry a little bit more weight than everyone else's, but it's still, for all intents and purposes, it's still years away from that happening. And this is an organization that really can't wait years to enact some type of, David Boyle likes to say reset. Reset's not the word they need to use. They need to use rebuild. The problem with a rebuild is Nashville has so many pieces locked in for 3+ years remaining on their contract, high-level dollar contracts that are going to be extremely difficult to buy out or move. So going back to your original question, is this something where you say, hey, go ahead and jettison what you can. We'll deal with your mess later with a future GM. I think you have to look at it as, what can we do now to salvage the future? And that's a bigger question that remains yet to be answered. There's a clear path in front of them, but they have to be willing to accept that route and be willing to lose some games here in the future.
How necessary is it? Let's be honest, Chris. We had this conversation on Twitter. You had this conversation. Doesn't seem to me like the people who are going to Nashville Predators game give a crap about what's on the ice.
They don't. If you go to a Predators game, and I've been to a handful this season myself. I no longer cover the team. I made that choice a couple of years back. But if you go to a game, it is no longer the Section 303 leading the chants and cheers. It is a social atmosphere. It is a social atmosphere with a lot of tourists and people from out of town coming to these games for a night on the town, for an enjoyable time at a sporting event. It reminds me a lot of how the Toronto Maple Leafs crowd was over the past, maybe last decade plus. I think Toronto, as a tangent, I think Toronto's fan base has kind of gotten back into the mix, more heavily fans than it is a social scene. But with Nashville,
well, they've been better over the last few years.
Well, absolutely, and that's part of it. Having a better team, it definitely helps. But Nashville's kind of been on the downhill swing since the Winnipeg series back in 2018. That Game 7 slammed the door on their quote unquote window of opportunity.
Couldn't win at home.
They couldn't win at home, and that's
I tried to get them to move the game to Winnipeg, Game 7.
That would have helped out. I think they probably would have won it there. So, but this is an organization that, they have to be sellers. It's not a, we can dish out a couple of pieces here and there. We can move some players here and there. No, you have to begin this now, because this is being honest, a full rebuild is a minimum 2 years, potentially 5 to 6 year process. If you look at teams like Chicago or Pittsburgh that have gone through these lengthy rebuilds to become Stanley Cup champions and beyond, Nashville has the assets, if they can get them moved out, to get a lot of stock in the draft, a lot of capital there, some prospects built up, but they have to be willing to embrace that rebuild. Right now, there has been no indication from the franchise that they're ready to embrace that. And that, for me, is a massive problem, a massive indicator of complacency. And I think until they get to a point where they can embrace that rebuild and be ready to look towards the future instead of 1 to 2 pieces in the future, then I don't think there's any kind of resolution in the anywhere near future.
Former Nashville Predators journalist, I guess, author, writer, Christopher Martel, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. You can follow him on Twitter at @KMartel_sports.
And you should.
And you should, if you're interested in the Predators, certainly.
Appreciate that.
Christopher, as you talk about the assets that they do have that they could move for prospects and the like, the name that everybody kind of wants to dance around, and the one that would really signal unquestionably this is the direction we're going in, Juuse Saros.
Yep, and I think that's a name that you have to look at. Juuse Saros is probably, outside of a Matthias Ekholm, who is, of course, 5 years older than Juuse Saros, that's just one of 2 or 3 players that is healthy, and is not making over $7 million, and is in a position to where they can be traded anywhere without any pushback from the player. So no move clause, no trade clause. So there's not a whole lot of options for the Preds. Lucky for them, a player like Saros could really get back a king's ransom because of how he's performed for the Preds under duress for the last couple of seasons. This is a goaltender who is 27 years old, and he's only on the books for $5 million a season for the next 3 years. And this is also a goaltender who is lauded around the league as one of the best young goaltenders playing currently. Night in, night out, Juuse Saros is easily up at the top. And his only problem right now is he doesn't have a team in front of him that can play 60 minutes of hockey every single night. So I think if you put him on a team or an organization that could play 60 minutes of hockey in front of him every single night, the sky's the limit for him. But the Predators have to be willing to go that route, and that is certainly the player to look at. If they're going to pull the trigger, it's going to be him.
And they've got Askarov. Askarov is a pretty, obviously it's Milwaukee and it's the AHL. It's not the NHL, but he's a solid option, especially to get you through a rebuild.
Absolutely. This Askarov is a goaltender who has been, we've seen what he's been able to do at the KHL level. The highlights that have come out from there have just been absolutely phenomenal. He's played fantastic so far for Milwaukee. Of course, that is just at the AHL level. And we've seen a little bit of what he can do in the NHL. Not very much, of course, because we're not going to expect to see much from him now. But when you have him developing already at the AHL level, This is a guy who's going to be ready here in a year, maybe 2 years, as long as you don't force him up into a position to where he won't be able to succeed. So maybe you pick up a veteran option. Maybe you re-sign Lincoln into another couple of years. I thought Lincoln has been a pretty good option for the Preds. I thought he's played serviceable hockey with the organization. So there's a clear path to get Askarov into a position to where he can be the next Saros, be the next Rene for Nashville. But again, it's a couple of seasons out, and it's a matter of the team being willing to accept that.
Should they accept it? I mean, because at this point, again, if it doesn't matter what's on the ice as far as butts in seats for the most part, then wouldn't it be better just to go ahead and let's ride that out for the next couple of years and let's rebuild? And then that way, Toronto-esque, when you do get back to Stanley Cup playoff level.
If you do get back.
I think, look, UC Saros will bring you a king's ransom. And Askarov is good enough to get you through that. I
just think there's too many. I think there's too many teams that have thought, okay, we'll do this and then we'll churn this and we'll get back to where we were. And all of a sudden, that process either takes longer than you thought. Somebody doesn't pan out, somebody gets hurt. I don't think it's as simple as, okay, we'll cave for a couple of years and then we'll be back.
And that's really what the problem is, they can look at it and say, hey, I think we can ride this storm for a couple of years, but they've literally been saying that for about 5 or 6 years now. And that couple of years has turned into another couple of years, has turned into another couple of years. And it's gotten to a point where the team has accepted this line of mediocrity to where they're like, well, John Hines is a good coach, and he's gotten us into the playoffs, but they leave out the fact that they get stumped in the first round, or they have a mediocre regular season and have some kind of late push to get them into the playoffs, or they have players that are underperforming that we all know that can perform under successful conditions. And they also have players that should be playing for the Preds, but have yet been waived and are being played for teams like Seattle for some odd reason. That it's just, it's a plethora of bad decisions being masked as decisions that could be potentially useful to weather out a mediocre storm. And I don't think it's a path for success for the Preds.
Chris Martel, I asked Chris Yow and Teresa maybe earlier this week or last week if Eeli Tolvanen was David Poyle's AJ Brown.
Tolvanen goes to Seattle, he's tearing it up, and the first thing that's asked of him is what goes wrong in Nashville. And to sum up what he said, he pretty much said, I don't know. They just didn't put me in a position to succeed. And you look at John Hines, and Hines and Poyle said, well, we put him in every single position. Okay, then how come he wasn't performing like he did in Seattle? It wasn't a matter of him saying, well, I don't want to play for Nashville, so I'm just gonna, not play well and get myself moved. I definitely don't think that's the cause.
Well, and I've said this for however long I've been talking about the Predators. The Predators don't play with the puck. They just don't. They cannot handle it for any amount of time whatsoever. We play in the other team's zone far too often. And when you've got a guy who just needs a little bit of help, you can't, you've got to give him that. And UC Saros is a guy who just needs a little bit of help. Just a little bit.
I think the best way to look at this, and I made this example to somebody the other day, this is a team that largely played under Peter Laviolette. And Peter Laviolette was a run and gun kind of coach. like offensive first, get back if the offense doesn't work, get the puck back, drive it back into the offensive zone. John Hines is a completely different coach with a completely different strategy. His strategy is kind of two-way, kind of defensive. It's not a lot of run and gun offense like Laviolette.
And yet they're not very good at it.
No, and that's the thing is like this team is still playing under Laviolette's rules of hockey.
That's
and
because
they're
it was
trying
built.
to adopt it. Yes. It
That's
was
how
built
it was
under
built by
Laviolette.
David Poyle to play Laviolette hockey. And then you went out and hired a guy who doesn't play that type of that style. And you're surprised that we are terrible.
And that's half the reason why I think this team isn't successful is they can sit there and say until they're blue in the face, well, you know, we like Coach Hines. His system is in place. No, his system is clearly not in place.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Who would be the most important person to replace? If you could only replace one.
Oh, yeah.
Hang on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Before you answer this, so what are we talking about? We're talking
Just
about
David
Poyle. We're talking about Hines. We're talking about
it. Poyle or Hines?
Okay.
Oh, Poyle, because if you get rid of Poyle, he gets rid of Hines. I mean, you get rid of the general manager can clear house.
Sure. But if David Poyle hires a guy like a run and gun coach,
but that's not the root
system.
That's not the root problem, though.
Okay.
I think the problem is not just John Hines. You also have to get the guy who's making the decisions above him.
Well, I don't disagree. I'm just saying if I could only have one and I've got to do something over the next 2 years, I'm getting rid of the coach and I'm going to hire a coach that plays like the last guy I had I built a team for.
I'm getting rid of the GM and let the GM get rid of the coach.
Steve, you
can only get rid of one.
Well,
you got to keep the other one.
I think if you chop the head of the snake off,
the body will die.
That's right. You can get a whole new snake in you get a whole new snake.
Just shed its skin. That's all. Christopher Martel at @KMartel_sports on Twitter. Thanks for taking some time with us. Thanks for getting #Matt online. We appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you again soon. And we'll be checking out those Green Hill Hawks here soon.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right. We'll stick here and talk a little bit about the USFL, Mo, because
because you've been trying to talk about it for 3 days.
This is just a short, brief synopsis. The USFL announced its ticket prices today. Have you seen these?
No.
It is a thing. It's impressive. I don't even know how they're going to do it, but they're going to do it. Okay. If you would like season tickets at club level for Ford Field, how much would you think it costs you?
I have no idea.
Season tickets, club level. That's
how many games is that?
Well, it's 5 home games for Michigan and 5 home games for Philadelphia, but those two teams will play each other in the same place. So you'll get 6 weeks. Okay. So that's 6 weeks.
Should I play the wild and wacky music?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, absolutely. If you want to.
$1,000?
$100.
Oh my gosh.
$100 for 6 games?
6 games.
Wow. I mean,
to get season tickets to sit in the end zone, it will cost you $25.
Oh goodness.
Okay. You know, I've always been taught never to pass up a good deal.
That's a heck of a deal.
That's a good deal.
Now everywhere else is 120, but still, it's 120.
I mean,
for season tickets,
that's $20 a week, and you're getting 2 games every time.
And it's football.
I mean,
kind of.
That's 11 games. It's 11 total games basically.
Wow.
And individual tickets start at $10.
Oh wow.
For everywhere. Everywhere's $10 tickets. That's pretty impressive.
It's not bad.
Do you think sponsorships allowed them to do that? I mean, because that's, I guess, just to get butts in seats, right?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the point. Because look, the money is not in ticket sales.
Of course,
ticket sales is not what's going to drive these folks. But here's the deal. If you get those folks in and they become fans, real fans, then they're going to watch on TV. And they're going to, when their team's away, they're going to watch on TV. So that means advertising dollars go up. And when, obviously the more eyeballs you have, the more you can charge for advertising.
Merchandise.
And that's the key. And then merchandise. I mean, these folks are going to be buying merch. You don't think they're not going to be buying merch? They're absolutely going to be buying
especially
merch.
Well, I got to tell you,
Memphis Showboats.
I went looking for Memphis Showboats merch a couple of weeks ago. Well, it's not very impressive.
Well,
no,
that's nothing is.
It's no.
The logo's so nice.
Yeah, the logo is so nice, but the stuff,
the USFL,
it's very uninspiring.
Do they have like a brand?
It's kind of like no. So that's the thing is USFL is kind of doing basically their merch right now is Shopify.
Nah.
It's all print to order kind of stuff. Once you get to the stadium, they're going to have some new and different things. Obviously, once the season gets going, you'll see some new merch. That's what happened last year with the Stallions. We were all like, oh, yeah, let me get a hat. Let me get a shirt. And then they were all just kind of meh.
At best.
But once you got to the stadium, it was better made quality. So
you're saying, Mo, that you did check it out, the merchandise, and you just weren't impressed?
Not at all. Not at all.
Darn it.
No.
That makes me sad.
Yeah.
It's the coolest logo ever.
Obviously, we're not going to have time to talk about the draft today, but I wanted to mention this. Last year's USFL draft, there were 280 players drafted. 180 of those were invited to NFL tryouts.
Wow.
69 of them were invited to camp, and 13 of them made 53-man rosters.
Oh.
Which means they went from making $42,000 a year to $750,000.
Like within a year, literally
spring football.
Yep.
Within
months.
Days. That's insane.
Yep. Yeah, they went up quite a few tax brackets.
Yes, they did, in fact. So I just thought that, I thought that was interesting.
I didn't know that the goalie that is a prospect for coming to the Predators is the one that did the bench press whenever he did.
Yes.
I mean, that was amazing. I'm glad that.
Yeah, when he bench pressed the goal after the win, he's become kind of a viral sensation for the way he celebrates shutouts. So
it's very Nashville.
I love him. It's very much Preds energy.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
There you go. All right, that's going to do it for our Thursday show. Tomorrow again, we'll be at the Williamson County Ag Expo. We'd love to see you there. What you got?
Before we go, I have to say happy 81st birthday to my dad.
Hey,
I meant to get it in earlier, and we talked over it and talked over my spot, but
yeah, Chris, you kind of ruined it.
But
no, it's not Chris's fault. It just happened.
It's all good. Williams County Ag Expo tomorrow. Join us if you're there. If not, you can always watch us right here on Main Street Media TV. For Mo and Justin, I'm Chris Yow saying have a great day. We'll see you then.